President.
He'd be speaking on Friday, which is the kind of closing afternoon of the World Economic Forum. He's claiming he's here to talk about America first and the wonderful thing he's doing for the American working man and women. When I look at the realities of the Trump economic policies and their social policies, it's far from putting American workers first. And there's a number of reasons for this. His latest tax deal, which has filled him full of joy, essentially is 83% of these tax deductions are going to go to the top 1%.
You say he's exhibit A of the fractured world that all these delegates are going to be talking about.
Well, when we look at where the fractures are, our interest is at the social fractures. And if you look at the world's workforce today, we have 3.2 billion people in the world's workforce. And almost 1 in 2 of them are in what we call vulnerable, insecure work. That is to say, there's no certainty of pay, no proper contractual conditions. 1 in 3 workers in the world today are surviving on just a couple of dollars a day. So we have a world of work which is insecure, which is precarious, and doesn't give people the certainty of what their future livelihoods will look like. So we have this big fracture in terms of the labour market, which is not working in the main for people. Secondly, when we look at the wealth and income distribution, things are simply getting worse. We have not seen levels of inequality in wealth and income distribution of this degree for more than a century since what was called the Gilded Age. And when we look at where the money is going, the benefits of economic growth go to the top 10%, top 1%, and it's not the idea they tell us is going to trickle down. Well, I tell you, the buckets are empty. There's nothing filling those buckets, and therefore we have levels of income distribution which are not sustainable, which feeds insecurity and precarity. In Africa, for example, 60 to 80% of the GDP country is a result of people in informal work. In Africa, 60% of the working population have insecure, low-paid work. So there's a massive fracture there.
But so let's look at South Africa in finality.
Yeah.
We have some of the best labour legislation in the world. Workers are very protected. We're always talking about decent work, but we have one of the highest unemployment rates. And people are saying, shouldn't we worry about getting business going, about getting those people into work, rather than protecting the people who have jobs?
You need to do both. By making people in work poorer and more insecure is not going to help the economic development of South Africa. It is clear that since the financial crisis had a dramatic impact on the country, and I think South Africa suffered the consequences of the financial crisis of 10 years ago, number one. Secondly, I hope that with the improvement in the economic situation in the world, which is being claimed here, will have a beneficial effect. Africa needs investment, you need infrastructure investment, and it's the business people have to invest. Africa is a wonderful destination for investment, for international investors. The economic growth which we see in Africa usually tends to beat world standards. The problem that you have of investment is not as a result of the fact that a union has a collective agreement with an employer. You are not going to improve the situation in Africa by taking those in work on the race to the bottom.